Welcome home, ABQ.com, Tego, Tracy, and the Venturi Realty Group. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Eddie. Here we are.
We're always happy to be here.
Yeah.
And doing great. And the thing is you've been happy this entire time. The pandemic going this way, and now we don't know where it's going. But these guys and gals, Tego and Tracy, have been through all the cycles, and they're here to help you with their real estate expertise. And you've got to have data-driven decisions are the most important things. And of course, we're going to look at the first half of the year, including July home sales data, which takes us into the second part of the year. Should I wait to buy a home? I'm going to answer the question and jump ahead of them too. No, do it now. The interest rates are amazing. And then we're going to go to a little bit of a cool website, humanprogress.org. I haven't been there, but Tego and Tracy have. And they look at all angles, and they're looking at research on home cost over time, what it looks like between now and 40 years ago, back in 1980. And, of course, they'll guide you through the home buying process. I trust them. You should do so as well. All I ask you to do is pick up the phone, dial direct, 505-448-8888. Tego, Tracy, take it away.
Thanks, Eddie.
And, that humanprogress.org, who turned me on to that?
Who?
Scott Adams, which is, one of my people I follow. And so you guys, some of you guys probably are familiar with Coffee with Scott Adams, which is a web show he does every single day of the year. And Coffee with Scott Adams, and he talks about just topics, whatever the topics are of the day. And
He's
of course,
amazing.
Yeah, and Scott Adams is, the author of the Dilbert comics, but he's written a couple books, actually a handful of books. One of them, which I think is one of the greatest, just success books, is How to Fail at Almost Everything and Still Win. It's one of those books where it's like every kid needs to read that book. Every adult needs to read that book.
My autobiography right there. Tego.
Right.
Fail at everything and then just win. I think that's perfect.
Exactly. How to Fail at Everything and Still Win. That's and he said it's the story of his life. So anyway, but humanprogress.org it's an interesting. They do a lot of research and look at data a little bit differently than what we get spewed to us on a daily basis.
The website sounds like it'd be much different. Human Progress sounds.
I know.
It's like a weird name, but humanprogress.org. So we look forward to that.
We'll get into that. Tracy.
40 years ago, 1980, Tego. That's crazy.
1980. Let's see. We were in high school, weren't we?
I graduated
you
in 1980.
Graduated in 80. Oh,
yeah.
I was still okay. I was a couple of years behind you. But.
I don't think it could be that long ago.
I know. How can that be 40 years ago?
How can that be?
No, it can't be. So what's going on in real estate, Tracy?
Well, real estate's busy.
Yeah.
We're good. It's end of July. We typically see things calm down a little bit as people are getting back to school, right? Our typical time of year where we see the numbers maybe come down a little bit. Obviously, we're still catching up from last year and earlier this year. But, still a lot of home buyers in the market looking for that house to be on the market for sure.
Speaking of counterintuitive data or non-narrative data and information, I did a post earlier this week about just, is the market slowing down? Is the market, tanking? Is the real estate market sliding backwards? And, I've heard this now a few times from our community, right? Realtors in the realtor community, right? Real estate community that, it's slowing down, it's slowing down. And so I did, what I normally do is I looked at the data.
Yep.
And the data shows that, we slow down this time of year, every single year.
Right.
This is when things start to slow down, not quite as many, much buyer activity. And so you go from this year in particular, this frantic, crazy, 20 offers on homes this year, to now we're only receiving a couple offers. Instead of homes selling in 2 hours, they're selling in maybe 2 days or 5 days or 10 days, right? But the thing is, we're still in an extreme seller's market. We still have a very, very limited supply of homes on the market compared to the number of buyers.
True.
And so go ahead.
I have seen that, Tego, and I've seen even, a lot of the media where they say things are slowing down, the headline, and it's sort of like making a story beforehand. I hate that when that happens, because it's almost like then it has to, everyone starts saying it, so it has to be true, right?
Yeah, it must be true. Everybody's saying it.
But
well,
no.
You know, people that listen to Kiva, I think understand that probably more than most people do.
Right.
So yeah, the thing is, yes, we've had a slight increase in the number of homes on the market. We generally do every year this time of year, and what's going to happen here, probably a month from now, we're going to start to see a decline in the number of homes on the market, because we always do.
Right. Right.
It's not going to continue to build.
It's like you have a crystal ball, Tego. Oh, wait, it's called looking back at historical data.
Exactly. Right.
I love that crystal ball you have.
Yeah. So one of the things that I noticed just in the last few weeks here, Tracy, is yes, we have had an increase in the number of homes on the market over the last 3-4 weeks, but it's basically stayed steady. It hasn't continued on this climb and so I don't see that changing. In fact, I see it reversing here pretty soon. So
right. Speaking
what
of,
that means is, if you're looking for a home, what should you be doing?
Well, so one of the things that I would suggest is, let's not give up. Let's, put your parameters together, keep looking. This week, Tego, I had the opportunity to stop in at a few sales offices of new home builders and just chat with them. And they actually have some homes ready to buy today.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, this weekend, they have some great incentives out there for buyers towards their closing costs or upgrades if you want to build a house and pick your lot. But they do have some that are done or almost done. So there's a great option. You're not competing as much. You walk into the sales office and pick the house, pick the floor plan, or you pick one that's already done. So I stopped in a D.R. Horton, Hakes Brothers, and Pulte this week. And wow, they've got some beautiful homes and neighborhoods. Now, most of the newer homes are in that 300 and up range, up to 500 and even above that.
Okay.
In some of the neighborhoods. But boy, there's one way to find a house. So
yeah, new construction, let's just talk about that real quick. There is a lot of new construction going on. There are projects, that we're aware of in the pipeline that are coming on. And so there's going to be a fair amount of new construction over the next few years for sure in the Albuquerque area. Although I looked at building permits, we had a spike up in May, and then building permits for the Albuquerque area dropped off again and are just kind of flat. And I think that's partly this whole kind of supply chain problem, labor problem, material cost problems that a lot of the building industry is seeing. And that's not just residential construction. I mean, everybody out there knows that. It's everywhere, supply chain problems. So anyway, that new construction is coming. It's just not enough for the demand that we have out there right now. And it's probably going to continue that way. So if somebody's interested in new construction, what should they do?
they should call us first, right? 448-8888. We can help you hone in on neighborhoods and areas and price points and availability. And when we find the right one, we can help negotiate the right offer and contract for you to get that house you need.
So
you've got some data dying to get to?
I've got some data sitting in front of me here I want to talk about.
Some year over year?
Yeah, so you've heard here first this is July preliminary data. Obviously, we haven't finished the month yet, or we're just finishing the month. So it's very preliminary, but a couple things that I took out of it is total number of homes on the market is down 18% from last year. And of course, last year in July, we saw a very big, steep decline, in the number of homes on the market, and obviously May, June into July of last year. So we're even down lower than that right now. The number of homes coming on the market is equal with last year. Because what happened, Tracy, is, we had that obviously May, June, where people just stopped putting homes on the market. July last year, they started to come back in. People were getting comfortable with it. And this year, it's kind of equal to that, but we're not seeing a huge influx of number of homes on the market, which we could definitely use.
Right. We've increased, but now we're selling them again at the same rate they're coming on the market. So we're staying in that 1,000 range versus 700.
Right. And to put that in perspective for folks, if, think about, okay, there are about 1,000 homes for sale in the greater Albuquerque area. We could have 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 homes on the market and still be in what's considered a balanced market.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that, that's just how far behind we are on homes. And we'd have to get to that, quote, balanced market before
we see prices balance out.
Yeah. Before we start to see price declines. I want to be careful with that, but really it would take a huge buildup in the number of homes on the market and to turn to a buyer's market. We got a long way to go before we get there. So
the stats.
Yeah, and the number of homes under contract, these are pending sales, up 10% so far this month from, and again, we're talking about July versus July last year. July last year was a booming month for pending sales. It was the second highest number of pending sales
in the
ever in our market, next to June of last year. So June of last year was the number one ever. July was the second most. And now this month looks like it's going to be the third most. It's going to be a big month. So the buyers are still out there. There's no doubt about it. Right, Tracy?
Right. Well, we know that. When we talk to our lenders and just all of our agents, they've got buyers. They're waiting for the right home to come on the market. Or they're making offers on homes, and so are other people. So they're still looking for houses.
Tracy, we've got a great story and some data here about should you wait to buy?
And the answer is it could cost you if you wait to buy, right?
So tell us the numbers on this. This is a little bit of research. It was done, pretty simple research, but yeah, go through it here.
It's talking about a $250,000 home loan. So we're looking at the price of the home versus the cost of borrowing the money from now to historical, like in the future, if interest rates change and prices continue to go up, which we believe they will, right?
Yeah. So if you look at it, if somebody bought a home in the beginning of this year in January and they paid $250,000 for it, they got a 2.8% mortgage. So they got a monthly payment about $1,027 a month, right? If the home prices go up, which they look like they will, about 12% this year.
Right. That home next January will be $280,250, right? So that house is going to go up $30,000 in a year. Wow. And
so
interest rates.
Let's look at it this way. This may be a better way to look at it. If somebody would buy a $280,000 house right now, and let's say they're around, 3% mortgage rate or something like that, they're going to have a payment around $1,200, let's say.
Right.
Okay. All the projections are that home prices are going to appreciate somewhere around 5%. I think it's going to actually be higher than that over the next 12 months. That home, let's say it's 5%, that home that was $280,000 is now worth $295,000 a year later. So if you wait a year from now, you're going to pay another $15,000 for that exact same home. And more than likely, you're going to be paying a higher mortgage
interest rate
payment. So because the interest rates more than likely will be up a little higher by this same time next year.
So we've had a lot of people say, I'm just going to wait. I'm not going to buy a house right now. I'm just going to wait for things to calm down, prices to come down or whatever. So when you look at the statistics on it and the projections, that really could cost a home buyer.
It could, especially for that whole conversation that you and I have all the time about building wealth for you and your family.
So, this example was a January 2021 purchase. So just 6 months ago, right? 7 months ago. And it's showing that house is already appreciated by $15,000 perhaps. And what we know from working in the market and helping clients is houses have gone up quite a bit just since the first of the year. So to wait and for prices to go up higher and potentially miss out on the best interest rates we've seen pretty much could cost them money.
But wait, what about all those forbearances and that foreclosure foreclosure flood that's coming, Tracy?
So we've got a lot of new data on that too, right? So
Yeah.
over our morning coffee, Tego's always reading me stories, right?
Yeah.
And the story this week was all about what's going to happen with all the houses in forbearance. But think about how many houses are there in forbearance, Tego, from the height of this pandemic to today, right?
Right.
We went from what, 5-6 million?
Can I make something clear? People may not understand this. They may have hear the word forbearance. So forbearance is a program that was put in place to help people avoid foreclosure. I remember back when it first started, and everybody was saying there's 7 million or 5 million people on forbearance. They're all going to go to foreclosure. Well, the whole idea of the forbearance program was to get people to
them through
avoid foreclosure,
Right.
It was a way to let them put a pause on their mortgage payments because of the pandemic and then come out of it. So what's happened, we started at 5 million, we're down to under 2 million people in those plans right now. And most of the people that have come off those plans have just, picked up payments, done some work out with their lender, or honestly, there were a lot of people that did the plan that never used it. They're out of the plan. There's a lot of people that refinanced or did something else that are out of the plan.
Right. So now we've got under 2 million people still in the forbearance plan. And the story you were telling me, I think it was FHFA.
Well, it was actually, it was a story, it was the CFPB.
All these acronyms, right?
I know. FHFA is the Federal Housing Finance Authority, which oversees Fannie and Freddie, and then CFPB, Consumer Finance Protection. So they're the ones that are pushing, helping people get through this, homeownership challenge, right?
Right. So they're coming out with how people are going to get out of it, right? How they're going to help people. But what happens to the folks that aren't trying to help themselves get out of it, right?
Right.
And that was really clear to me that if people are reaching out to their lender, if they are in forbearance or they're trying to figure out a path,
here's the quote.
They're going to be
Tracy,
worked with.
I just found it. So this was a story in Housing Wire written by a gentleman who is with an organization called Realty Track, and they're the largest company in the country that kind of deals with foreclosures. The data around foreclosures and working through foreclosures. So anyway, they've had no business in the last year, actually. which
so the quote or the...
Yeah, so the whole idea was, okay, of all these people that were in forbearance plans, and they're going to be coming out of it, the foreclosure moratorium's going away.
Probably.
It is.
Like today.
Soon. Yeah, I think it is today.
The 31st.
I think you're right. So what happens to all those people now? Are we going to suddenly have this flood of foreclosures? Well, no. Here's the quote. It says, the CFPB has issued new servicing rules. And so what the servicers are, those are the ones that actually take care of the mortgage payments and service the mortgages. So when you make your payment on a mortgage, you're paying it to a servicer, just to define that. The rules providing even more safety net until January 2022. For the balance of 2021, service will only be able to initiate foreclosures on loans held on vacant and or abandoned properties, loans where the borrower has been offered but not qualified for loan modification, loans where the borrower has been unresponsive to servicer outreach, and I want to go back to that, and loans where, which were 120 days delinquent prior to March of 2020, which is kind of funny that, all those people that were delinquent prior to the pandemic got their foreclosures put on hold too.
So if they were in the process 120 days, they might get put back on the roster.
So that little part in there that says if the homeowner has been unresponsive to servicer outreach, the servicers, again, the people that actually handle the mortgages and collect payments and process all that, they've been doing tons to for outreach. I mean, if you go on any mortgage servicer's website right now, the first thing you're going to see is this big splash pop up that says, "Do you need assistance with your mortgage?" Right? This is nothing like what happened in 2008.
Right.
Anyway,
so basically it's saying if you've been trying and you're cooperating and you're communicating with whoever you pay your mortgage to, they're not going to start a foreclosure. They're going to continue to figure out how to help you put back payments.
Well, there's one little caveat to that, and it says they've been offered but not qualified for loan modifications, which means the thing is they're going to do everything they can to help people modify their mortgage if they need to. As much as putting all the payments on the end and making it a 40-year mortgage, right?
Right.
We saw that
We
too.
saw that. We had to do the math, 480 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the end of the story is, Tracy, there's not going to be a flood of foreclosures.
No, there isn't. And, with under 2 million people in forbearance, even if all those came on the market, we probably need them on the market.
It's
not that we want that to happen.
If they all came on the market, and they wouldn't come on all at once, they would come in and
Over the next year or two. Yeah.
The projection I saw was maybe 300,000 foreclosures nationwide after we get through this forbearance and everybody comes off of that. Nationwide, really, that's a drop in the bucket when you think about the fact that there's about 6 million homes a year sold in our country.
The other statistic, just to put it in perspective, is of the under 2 million that are in the forbearance program represents about 3.9% of mortgages.
Right.
So that's 4 out of 100.
So even if all those, you're right. No, the thing is, even if all those homes come on the market immediately, it's not going to cause price declines unless buyer demand just vanishes for some crazy reason, which doesn't seem to be in the cards with the millennial generation. And
think about how much home prices have changed since the beginning of last year. Those people in forbearance have equity in those homes.
Yeah.
So,
that was a longer discussion we wanted, but I'm just so frustrated when I hear people saying, "Well, I'm waiting for the deals when all the deals start coming." It's like, no, they're not coming. They're not. I'm sorry. And people that say you shouldn't be telling people to buy a home right now because home prices are going to crash. Well, first off, you got to live somewhere, right? I mean, so you got to put that into the calculation. Anyway, okay. I'm done.
Let's talk about we have some open houses.
Oh, yes,
today, tomorrow. So you might want to check them out on the website and find them. I'll be at an open house this afternoon as well as several others on our team. But we have a website with all of the open houses, not just ours.
If you just go to our website at welcomehomeabq.com or albuquerqueopenhouses.com, actually end up at the same place. But they're all there. There's quite a few in the pipeline, and open houses are happening.
Yep, we have a gorgeous new listing that came on the market.
It's
$995,000.
Mm-hmm.
It was built last year, so it's a fairly new home. About 3,800 square feet, 4-bedroom. It's just north of La Cueva High School on a little private cul-de-sac that's gated. So if you're looking for something like that, let us know. We have a variety of others as well.
Yeah.
So we'd be happy to help you. Call us 448-8888 and we would be happy to help you. Tego? Key terms to know. Path to home ownership.
Yeah, path to home ownership. And we can run through this real quick. I think, Tracy, you and I and our team and everybody we work with, we do this every day.
Right.
And
process.
I think we just want to go really small here real quick. If you or somebody is looking to buy a home, what's the process?
Yeah.
What do they do? Where do they start?
Well, first, hopefully they've been saving for a down payment, thinking about home ownership.
So I need 20% down, right?
No, you don't need 20% down. As a matter of fact, you may not need any down. You might just need some closing costs.
Well, if you're a VA, VA
is zero down,
yep.
Which is great. It's the best loan out there. But we have New Mexico Mortgage Finance Authority. They help with a down payment. It's a little harder to get those houses right now because the affordable homes are having a lot of competition. But, try to save for some down payment, or at least for some moving costs, some furnishings once you move in. Then I would say partner with a great local lender. It's not, especially if you haven't done this very many times, get a great local lender.
One of the things on this list too is your credit score, and of course Michael's coming up next talking about you got to get your credit in
That's
order.
Where
it
I
really
would
matters.
Partner with don't just get on some website and check your credit score. That's where I'm going. The list says know your credit score, but I would say know your credit score with a good local lender, because if you need some help getting it improved to get a better interest rate or something, that great local lender can hold your hand and help you with that.
Yeah, and it's really important. I mean, you to really get favorable interest rates, you need to be 700. What was the number? I think to get the best, you need to be like 720.
720 for the best, yeah.
But you can qualify down to what, 680.
Oh, you can get it like 600, 620 with some loans, but the lender is in conjunction with a great realtor, right? So before you start looking at properties or stopping in, get a great realtor and a great lender working for you to help you with the process. So when you find the right one, you're ready to go, right?
So you have an advocate both, on your financial plan and on, working through the whole purchase process, which is a little tough right now, right?
What we love to do is whether in person or Zoom or on the phone, just kind of a buyer consultation, talk about the whole process, answer questions, make sure, because this, like you said, this is what we do every day.
Yeah.
And most people don't do it every day. So it's like, just let's go through the whole process, get your questions answered, let you feel comfortable with you know what you're getting into, basically.
So part of the lending thing and talking to the lenders, getting a pre-approval where you actually get pre-qualified, especially in today's market, they're going to need that when they do make an offer on the property. No seller, especially in today's market when it's so hot, is going to accept an offer unless they know that the buyer is financially able to purchase, right?
Right. And part of getting pre-qualified is filling out a loan application, typically online. Although some lenders, you can just give them your information over the phone, right? Mm-hmm. And they, start asking you for underlying documentation, your paycheck stubs, your tax returns, things like that. So
yeah, and then so the next step is the fun part, right? You go out shopping,
find a home. That's right. Go out shopping.
And so you got your realtor and you guys are online and you're going back and forth and you're looking at homes, and then there's the whole offer process. And just in the time we have here, Tracy, just talk about this 16-page agreement that we have that we put together that stipulates all the terms and conditions of the purchase, right?
Right. So it's 16 pages and a lot of different dates and deadlines, but a lot of the contingencies for inspections, for appraisal if needed, for your lender if needed. So we kind of go through all that.
We throw out the word close all the time, right? Really in New Mexico, it's a signing. So that's the point where the buyer, the seller come together and sign all the documents to transfer ownership.
They don't actually come together.
Right.
In New Mexico, we don't all sit down at the table at the
They
same time.
come together on a one piece of paper, but not at the same time. You're right.
Some states, buyers and sellers sit down at the table at the same time. They pass the documents around. They sign. They pass around keys. We don't do it like that.
So once an offer is accepted, there's a whole, you said contingencies real quick, but just what are those contingencies?
Well, typically there's some inspections, appraisal, just making sure the house can get insured, and any other lending type contingencies, and the whole process of getting inspections done, making sure you're comfortable with the condition of the home. If you're not buying a new home, you're buying a used home, so you can't expect it to be perfect.
Yeah.
So we kind of go through all that.
Yeah, a lot of the inspection is just knowing what you're dealing with, right? It's not necessarily, but anyway, there's a process in there to ask for repairs if there's things that are an issue for you.
And sometimes the inspections are things like, here's where your main water shutoff is.
Yeah.
Some of it's more of a homeowner orientation to teach people where things are in the home. The home inspector will say, this is your main electrical panel. This is where you reset if you trip a fuse or a...
So what we just did there in less than 5 minutes is what we do in about an hour in a buyer consultation.
Right.
And talking about all the things that the home buyer needs to think about when they're going into buying a home, especially if they're a first-time home buyer, even if they're not a first-time home buyer. Things have changed a lot just in, let's say, 10 years in the process.
Yep. So if you're interested in learning more, selling your house, buying your house, give us a ring, 448-8888. We have a team. We got home selling marketing specialists as well as home buying specialists, and we'd be happy to help you get set up with the best person to help you with all of that. Tego?
Yeah, it's Venturi Realty Group, Keller Williams Realty.
There it is, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, Venturi Real Estate Group from Keller Williams Realty. All you have to do is pick up the phone and dial them directly, 448-8888. That's